This video is not a response to Cyberbolt's video about toxicity. It's an addendum and a different perspective on things. First off, there is no such thing as meta in Paladins. I need to explain this in detail, so let's go ahead and do that. Take for example the matchup between Androxus and Buck. What do people think of that matchup? Buck is not even on the top 5 of tier lists, which are also something that doesn't work in Paladins. Tier lists just don't work. So bulk up Buck will actually bully Androxus, either killing him or delaying him and preventing him from gaining credits because he's not doing his job and getting eliminations or kills. That's a thing that actually happens in higher elo. So now, is Buck the best flanker? No. What about Maeve? She's the second best flanker, and yet people say that Androxus can counter her. Well, it's a skill-based matchup. What if she really knew how to dodge and when to dodge? She will be constantly throwing off his aim, while she's not going to be affected because she knows how to play Maeve, for example. That's a skill-only based matchup. Even though that Androxus is kind of faster, you know, he shoots faster, he deals 1200 damage per second at close distance instead of her 800 without Cat Burglar, still it's a pure skill-only matchup. It's not like, you know, Andro's gonna win every time. I can almost say the exact same thing about Xin versus Androxus. It all depends on skill. A bad Androxus will really die always to a mediocre Xin. Well, at higher elo, a Grandmaster Andro versus a Grandmaster Xin, most likely Andro's gonna win, but Xin's not gonna die. He's just going to retreat, which is good enough. Still, he's going to have put some damage and pressure and delayed the enemy Androxus. That's not Xin's job. Bulk Up Buck is an anti-flanker. It is his job to do something like that. Let's look at the spreadsheets relating to pick rate and win rate in Diamond Plus. Victor is the most picked champion out there. He's good. He's really good. He's even ban-worthy. You know, especially on sniping maps, where he can actually snipe and deal good enough damage even at maximum range. He's really good at that. But still, you know, what about matchups? What if I told you that a good Eevee can completely shut down a great Victor? That's a case that actually happens. Same thing can be said about any flanker really. If they're good, they will shut down that Victor. On the other hand, Cassie, which is picked like 20k times or 17k times, I think. Leon is the one with 20k matches. Well, here's the thing. She's much safer against flankers because of her burst. She's much faster at dealing that damage. There's an instant 1280 damage on any flanker with just your blast shot on impulse and a regular shot. What about Leon? She also has a combo that deals a ton of damage. However, her win rate is only 48%, even though she's picked 20k matches, you know? That's a lot of times being picked, and her win rate isn't all that high because she's not good against tanks, unlike Cassie, and unlike Victor, who's good at anything. Against anything he's good. He's got a ton of damage and almost 2 nades all the time because people, for some reason, for some unknown reason, people keep getting to stack on the point or near a lane, and then he gets 2 nades for 1500 damage instantly. That's just sad to see, but it's a thing that happens every day. What about Tiberius? Why are there only 4 good Tiberius players? Why is Tigron's Fury, you know, this talent, let's just go to it, this one, being picked way more than Predatory Instincts, even though this fights against the purpose of the best card in the game, Instrument of Fate, which gives you your combat rants back just by sending and recalling your sword against 2 enemies. That will reduce the cooldown by full 8 seconds if you hit both targets with it. That's why people run Predatory Instincts and not this, because the explosion does not activate Instrument of Fate. That's a thing. And still, it's being picked more often than the other one. There are only 4 good Tiberius pro players, or not even pros, just Grandmasters. Why is that? Well, it all comes down to the illusion of choice. Before we go on and expand that, which one of these 4 is the best one? It's situational. It's map dependent. If it's a short map, Cassie is going to have her maximum potential damage, like on Jaguar Falls. Meanwhile, Victor is going to have trouble dealing with flankers in there, because he is going to be on a flank lane where an enemy can just come in and ambush him if no one else is with him. He's going to lose on that map. Cassie's gonna be better because she's much safer in there. Leon, what if the map, or not the map, the enemy composition, what if they had a Willow, and Willow ults a lot? Really a lot. Well, Leon is a comfort pick for some players because of that 800 auto-aimed damage. Just 800. She's not an auto-aim champion. Why do people think that just 800 is enough? It's not enough. You have to land your shots, otherwise, why are you playing Leon? You're not gonna win. She's bad against tanks, by the way. What's 400 damage going to do, even if you do shoot twice? That's less by 400 points than Victor can deal, or a sniper can deal, or Cassie can deal. That's a lot less. Does this, alongside her low win rate of only 48% compared to Victor's 55%, does this mean that Leon is useless? No. She counters some champions. If Victor is banned and Drogoz is picked by the enemy, you would pick Leon against him. You would consider that as an option because she is good at bursting down a Drogoz. There are reasons to pick a champion. It's not about, oh, this is the best, this works anywhere. No. Against an Eevee, Leon will win way more often than an Victor can. That's just the case. Nothing is meta. It's all about picking and counter-picking. If you think otherwise, you're wrong. You're simply wrong. Tier lists are dumb. However, I have to stress out the thing about the word off meta. You don't use the word off meta picks. You use throw picks. Take for example these two. Pip as a solo support and Grok as a solo support. Everyone in this game knows these are damaged champions that had this icon sticked on top of them just because the classes had to be renamed. You know, Grok was a defender back in 2016 or something. His name was Wog too, if you want to look that up. So yeah, he's not a support. Even on Spirit's domain, he's bad. He has short range, his totems are worthless. He doesn't have any self-sustain other than the totems, which can be destroyed by any blaster by mistake while he's shooting you. You can't deploy your totems while you're in the air, like when you're jumping or lifted by Genos or knocked back by Ashe or anything. That's all bad, and they had to nerf him because, oh, the numbers were too high. No. He's not a support in the first place, and they maybe wanted to stress that out. I know that all of his changes were nerfs, and none of them were good. Even the ultimate ones were bad. You know, the ultimate feels really bad right now. Still, he's not a support. He is a damage champion. Same thing about Pip. Combat medic doesn't work. What's it gonna do? 700 healing per second? IO heals for 1k every second, and his flask is 1k healing in burst in an area, and then you can use it again if you hit 2 allies, you know, including yourself, I think. Still, he's not good. He requires lines of sight. His healing is gonna reduce his damage. He's not gonna deal damage while also healing. Pip is a throw pick if he's not going damage, or at the very least call it off support. Okay, you just don't want to go Pip solo support. That's a throw pick. It's not an off meta pick, it's a throw pick. There are many situations where something is a throw, not off meta. Let's go ahead and talk about talents and cards. Victor is the best example of this. He has some cards that you should never ever run in your loadouts because he himself has better cards for the exact same purpose. Let's look at them, okay? Hit and run. Get a kill or an elimination for 25% movement speed for 4 seconds. On the other hand, you have 40% increased speed just by using your nade, and you can use your nade twice if you're running Grenadier and hit 2 enemies at the same time. Which one would you run? You yourself, even if you don't play Victor. This is just use an ability, this is get a kill. You wouldn't run this ever, right? This is better. Even if it's 2 seconds, 2 seconds is your time to kill anyone except a tank. So 40% movement speed is a better option. And of course, Pro Victor players and Grandmaster Victor players don't even have the room to play on the move, because you don't need it. What they play instead is Firing Stance, the superior card. I know it's only during your iron sights where there is a movement speed penalty, but it's always better because there's no cooldown at all on your iron sights, and you're always in your iron sights because you want to get the effect of Predator. Let's talk about the ammo cards. Look at this. If you're not in the fight and just running away like a chicken, generate 10 ammo every second. So you need 3 seconds of sprinting to get the full 30 round magazine back up. Or get a kill or an elimination for 28 ammo on 4 points. Or the best option out there, generate 12 ammo per enemy hit with your nade, and you have 2 nades or can hit 2 enemies to get 24 ammo. Which one would you run? This is the illusion of choice. This is why people calling out a stupidly bad card in your loadout is justified. Because they are teaching you not to be dumb enough to fall under the illusion of choice. By the way, the illusion of choice is a concept in game design. It is implanted there because who in their right mind would try to come up with 20 actually usable cards? That's a lot, both as a user and as a designer. What's gonna be the best? So yes, there are always things like this in design. Now, just so that you would know, I'm not actually trying to disprove Cyberbolt or anything. This is just an addendum to his points. I'm adding to them. Malice, I run this at 4 points. This isn't my loadout. This is Alex, the world champion's loadout. Do you know what Malice does at 4 points? Your entire downtime is the time you shoot the first projectile out of your combo. That's it. That's all of your downtime. You're always in the game with Malice at 4 points. And yet, it's not always going to be the best option. You know, I'm just going to link you to a video made by one of my friends about Zen. Just check it out. Even Androxus has cards like this. The game never ever, not a single champion has 20 viable cards. Most of them, if not all, have only 8 viable cards to choose from. So let's look at Androxus's cards. All of them, you know, these two, sorry, not all of them, require a punch dealing a killing blow for these to activate. So heal yourself for 1125 or generate 20% ult charge after killing someone with Defiance. Are you even gonna run this at 1 point? What's it gonna do at 1 point? This is exactly the value that kill to heal gives you. You know, late game, Cauterize 3, kill to heal 3, 2250. Early game, kill to heal 1, 2250 under Cauterize 1. Same value. Except it requires a killing blow, not an elimination, and it has to be with Defiance. Why would you run this? It's a raw illusion of choice card. Spiteful, very exact same thing. Equivalent exchange. Who the hell shoots your reversal? There's also a short delay before, you know, Cassie lands her combo. If you just anticipate it's coming, your reversal won't be up in time. I've never ever seen a good Androxus player running this card. Never. Because they all know it has 0 actual value. Well, funny enough, if you try and import Alex's loadouts, you know, the world champion, you won't see even this card, which is ran at 4 points as a comfort zone for most Andro players. Look at Buck. He has Deft Hands 1 in 4 points in his loadouts. And, you know, that's an option to use. It's a bad option because any good Buck will tell you you actually never need to reload because you're always taking 1v1s or getting out of there. You don't take 2v1s, so you don't need the extra ammo. And late game, after you've bought Cauterize, Haven, or Rejuvenate, or whatever else you need, depending on the enemy composition and yours, you will buy Deft Hands 3 and have infinite ammo anyway. That's an option for Buck. You don't need to waste loadouts cards on it. Let's talk about talents. This is a raw talent as a solo support Furia. Maybe, just maybe it can work as an off support. I don't know. I did try it, it worked out for me, but it's not something that people generally welcome, even if you're running double supports. The reason is, well, simply put, you have to be in the enemy's face to make sure that the Pyre Strike lands. Otherwise, at mid-distance, they might just walk out of it, or, you know, use some mobility to get out of it. You're just gonna need to catch them off guard in order for this to actually kill the enemy flanker. Not to mention it doesn't apply Cauterize. Solar Blessing. It's not liked by the community because of two things. One, the fact that Furia players don't understand that they require a microphone and communication to use this. You can't just hope people, oh, get on the beam, I have put 5 points on Solar Strike or Solar Flare, the card that increases its radius, just so that they can have an easier time. You see this reduction? This is the reason that Solar Blessing is bad. This is a nerf to the talent Solar Blessing. If this is, you know, flipped around and turns into an increase, Solar Blessing will be seen much more often, because you're now the best Maldamba as Furia. You can heal your flanker behind walls with this. Just cut it out. Oh, hey, and Roxas, beam is heading in your general direction. They'll use their ears to make sure that they do hit that beam. But no. Do you know what you're losing when you're playing these two? The range. That's the most important aspect of Cherish. You don't know how important this range is. You just don't know. You've got Luminary Genos up next. This is the best talent on him. Why would you run Binary Star? Yes, you now deal damage against tanks. You've got to remember that your damage is against tanks, because you're still a support, or an off support in this case. So if you are an off support, what is this going to do? Like, this is gonna be 720 damage every 0.8 seconds. Well, you didn't really do all that much more damage. It's just that you've increased your range. The damage output, both on Binary Star and on the regular weapon, are the exact same at close range, which is the range that Genos is gonna be fighting at, unless he's running Binary Star. The Power Cosmium. Do you realize that this is a joke talent? Like, have you ever considered that you're buffing the enemy's items' resilience? They will get more value because you've added one more reason to buy resilience. If the enemy flanker is the only one buying resilience, then that's okay. But still, guess what? People know how to play around it. I'm just going to explain it as casually as possible, because I've learned this thanks to toxic and salty people who told me to go off support Luminary. And I'm gonna show you an example of an off support loadout later. So here's the thing. If they see you running the Power Cosmium, they won't try to kill you. They will ignore Genos and go the other lane, the other opposite side of the map, and put pressure on the point. The flanker, the enemy flanker, will be shooting the point tank. Once your point tank is dead, what are you going to do as Genos with the Power Cosmium? What exactly are you gonna do? You're gonna try to push into the enemy backline and try to trade it off with the enemy backline damage. And guess what? The enemy backline damage is never alone, because a good support attire Elo knows where to position. And then you're fighting 2 versus 2, except Genos does no damage other than the one described in the talent and the base kit, which is around 700 damage. Guess what happens next? Even though that enemy is in the air and you can't move, they will still shoot the priority target, which is not Genos, the flanker or the off tank or whomever else is with him. And then, once that target is dead, it's either going to be a trade where, you know, you've killed one of them and then Genos is alone against an enemy support. Have you tried that matchup? Genos will always lose that matchup and have to retreat. Literally, there's not a single support in the game that cannot kill Genos in 1v1s. Let's just go back to Luminary, and I'm sure that you've already seen this loadout in my Ice Mines, Io plus Genos. Genos is the off support, and we had Koga. Check that game out if you want to see a really weird game. And look at this. Luminary Penumbra. You deal 900 damage per second at point blank range with Genos. So why is he running this? Well, this actually allowed him to 1v1 Victor at one point when I wasn't healing him as Io. And then another time, I was healing him under Cauterized 3 and applying DR, and this, alongside Relativity, let him 1v1 Victor under Cauterized 3. Do you even realize how crazy it is to run off-support Luminary Genos? He's good. He can work, especially with Koga, you know. And look at that. He doesn't have the range cards because he's playing off support. He's up close and personal. He's dealing damage on his short range weapon. He doesn't need to be all that far away. So he doesn't need light years and not even astral cycle. He's considering that he needs more sustain since he is in a not safe position. Anyways, enough of that. Let's go ahead and talk about the situation in Paladins. Yes, there are content creators that spawn trolls. Each and every single casual team deathmatch, onslaught, casual siege, or quick play siege content creator spawns trolls. They know it. I've already gone ahead and confronted them in a wrong way. I don't apologize. I don't care. Your sidekicks or helpers were spawning sacrifice IOs. You were spawning resonance yings and focusing lens yings. And that was when Goddess Blessing was at 25%. Oh my god! How much more do you want to spawn trolls and insist on it? Don't you know that you're hurting the entire community, not only the ranked ones? Do you realize that people might actually quit the game because they think they are bad while you're promoting the bad playstyles, the ones that give no rewards, neither to you nor to your team? Do you even know what you're doing? You know, let's beg for views. Oh, I'm a support main. Let's become a flank main because it brings me more viewers. So full of cringe. It's not only about supports. You know, the things I called Dropix and Pip and Grog, they also apply here. For example, Half Shell Makoa, that's not a point tank. Do you remember the disgraced 2 matches where Makoa was picked as a solo tank and then they lost 4-0 in both of those matches? Because Makoa requires 1800 credits to buy Chronos 3 and requires the enemy to be stupid enough to be giving you resets. You see now why people say Dropix? Not off meta, complete throw picks, because they don't exist even in the off meta. They just don't work. You know, I hate myself for going on crazy rants like this and start shouting, so glad OBS has a compensator or whatever that feature is called. But still, here's the thing. Off meta picks, you know, I shouldn't even call it off meta because there's no such thing as meta. Dredge, look at Dredge. He destroys people on Jaguar Falls and Ice Mines. It's so hard to flank Dredge there. Simply put, even if he's running Scuttle, he will still be able to deal with you because there's not much vertical room for you to abuse his weapons, you know, features. That's the thing. He's good on those maps. I would pick Dredge over Victor any day on those maps. Literally any day. Just send my off-tank and flanker to deal with the enemy Victor that's gonna be poking at me, and I'll do the entire rest. I will deal with the enemy flanker on my own as Dredge. Okay? I'm not saying Dredge is good. I'm saying nothing is good and nothing is bad. It's all skill-based, it's all map-based, it's all counter-pick-based. How many times have you lost to Willow? How many freaking times does Willow ult per round? Have you even seen such a crazy Willow? Do you know that Willows don't buy cauterize because of Dead Zone? It's 100% cauterize. Just killing that priority target is more than enough. And then you will snowball from there with your team. Nice ice cream graphics, by the way. That's just one thing. Yes, there is no such thing as meta. Want more proof? Let's go to a Grandmaster match. Alright, look at this. This is Brightmarsh. The bans on this map were Moji, Bomb King, Io, and Genos. Yes, and Roxas was free and no one picked him. And we have Alex, the world champion, Kekronchi, the current #1 Grandmaster, Mudu, another Grandmaster, and Carto Filetorte, which is a master. I think Mudu is a master right now, not Grandmaster, but still. This is a super high elo matchup. Where's Androxus? Why did Mudu pick Koga? You know, even in my earlier videos, Koga isn't good. He's sort of a throw pick, right? That's what I said myself. Because simply enough, where is Genos on his team? Where is Genos on his team? Well, still, he works, and he does a lot of damage, and happens to sort of somehow counter Willow. Well, I don't know, Paladins decided to crash on me, so I'm just gonna show you the match, which is this one. This is the match ID if you wanna check it out. And here are the damage numbers, so that you would understand that stats mean nothing. Zen did 155k, Willow did 158k. On the other side, you've got Koga dealing 140k and Tara dealing 116k, and yet the team with Muro and Tyra has won. Why is that? Well, stats don't matter. It's a point capturing based game. You can watch that game right now if you catch it today. Just a kind reminder, Zen is not in the top 5 on any tier lists. Willow is not in the top 5 on any tier list. Some even put her at F, unusable. So laughable. Koga is considered by a lot as a throw pick, and so is Tyra. Why are we seeing this then? Why? Well, Because there is no such thing as meta. It's all about picks and counter picks. That's all. Still, here's the thing. Wouldn't Androxus have countered Willow in her ultimate? Well, if you go ahead and catch this match before it expires, you will find out that Koga did that. Funny, isn't it? Well, maybe it comes down to, inexperience with how to ult on Willow, which I urge you to go ahead and enter the shooting range and keep on ulting. It's a forward dash. You don't get any vertical momentum on it unless you start up with your basic dash, your flutter, and then ult. It won't give you any extra height than your base flutter. It's only a forward dash. Go ahead and try that out. Now look at my levels. Look at this. It's obvious that I'm a tank support player, right? I don't just main those two roles. I mean, I can play Androxus, I can play Zen, I can play Victor, Cassie, whomever else. Really, I'm not that bad at the game. I can flex. I do win games when I play flank or damage. But here's the thing. Where did I learn how to do anything? Where did I learn how to support correctly? Where did I learn to tank correctly? Who was it thanks to that I learned? It all boils down to those very toxic people and salty people who were pointing me in the right direction in their own way. Yeah, it does not have good taste, like being toxic and cursing, but let me tell you this. If they quit Paladins, where will they go? Overwatch? It's also toxic. Counter-Strike? Super toxic. Minecraft? I mean, I don't know what they're thinking. Maybe Fortnite? It's so cringy. No. If someone quits a game because of toxic community, they won't be playing online games at all. I'm gonna need to tell you how I actually got into Paladins those 10 months ago. The first ever champion I bought was Makoa. Here's the reason why. I asked my team, the friends in real life who actually pointed out that Paladins exists to me. Who is the most powerful champion right now? And I didn't play ranked, by the way, back then. The thing is, they told me it's Makoa, because whenever they were up against Makoa, they just lose. He was way too OP, I guess. And I grinded him up to level 27 in Season 2. And then I stopped playing him when he got nerfed in Season 3. Here's the thing. No one played tanks, so I knew I had a free playground. No one's gonna pick tanks. Yay! I can do that and learn an entire role. Season 2 was great, really great, because tanks were not as boring as they are today. They were great. They were hidden flankers like Khan. I leveled them up, I think, to level 12 or 13 before Season 3 started, but man, he was such a force. I used to flank with Khan because he was just OP. You didn't even need Vortex Grip. You could just go Storm of Bullets and just win anyway. And then I started playing ranked. See this symbol right here? I thought all of these tanks were supposed to sit on the point, because they can take the damage, right? Well, until I met those toxic players that were grandmasters that, the matchmaking decided, oh, let's put this platinum elo player, which is, I ended my qualifiers immediately in platinum because I came from multiple FPS games and, well, Dota. Well, here's the thing. It turns out that there are point tanks and off tanks, which is not explained in this name, Frontline. That's just sad. So yeah, it turns out I'm not supposed to stand on the point. Then they taught me that no matter how many people are stacking on the point, you won't capture it faster. Then I transitioned into support, because in casual, sometimes players don't pick a support, and you're forced to pick a support instead of a tank. And that's how I got into supports, in my casual matches. Then, in ranked, when tanks exist, because it's ranked, I learned the hard way through the toxicity and saltiness of players that I have to actually prioritize the flanker, my flanker, rather than my point tank, because point tanks do happen to be able to live using their shields, their walls, their sustain, whatever else, to stay alive. They can even get out of Cold Rise's effect in that time, meaning that if I heal my flanker, I'm gonna get more value. In the time that my point tank gets himself out of Cauterize, I will have my heals up again and heal them. Well, here's the thing. I learned that the hard way. I learned not to stand behind the point tank and instead follow my off tank the hard way. It's all thanks to toxic people. You have to remember that they're actively, even with their saltiness and toxicness. Don't let anyone get in your head. Just take the good tips and leave the trash out the window. You don't need to let anyone in your head. Just laugh at them, laugh at them with the team. If they're saying something that's completely wrong, you can laugh at them, and the team will laugh at them too. The team understands. Now, here's the thing. Since the game doesn't explain any of these hidden features or mechanics, as I call them, you're better off visiting this article right here, this guide, and checking out all of the hidden mechanics in the game. Like, for example, that Buck cannot use Chronos to get more value out of his abilities. Flat cooldown reduction does have a cap. Non-flat cooldown doesn't have a cap. That's good to know. Reload cap is 60%, so no matter how many times you add cards, like for example Buck's Street Sweeper, it's a bad card, it's not gonna help you out getting more reload speed. Plus, it's gonna be affected by diminishing returns once you have Deft Hands too. So it's a bad card. Next up, the Payload healing you for 50, it's written over here. This is something that most players don't know anyway. The diminishing returns, the fact that, a killing spree, whatever, ignore this. The killing spree does actually help you out. When you kill someone with a 15+ kill streak, you will instantly get your ults back. This is a viable strategy to, let your flanker or damage or whomever else get the killing blow on those, so that he'd get his ultimate instantly back. Wrecker. It doesn't affect Atlas's Wall, Terminus Siphon, Inara's Wall, Rome's Soul Armor. All of these. You have to know that. Okay, this is the, multiple people on the point to cap it faster. Same thing as pushing the payload. Everything else. Before anyone thinks and starts putting words into my mouth, I'm gonna say it myself. Yes, Toxicity, and I'm not a toxic player, ignore my name. Toxicity is healthy for any game because it teaches new players their mistakes. It teaches them what is right and what is wrong. You don't have to be toxic about it, but I'd rather, have someone teach me in any way rather than just stay silent and say, GG, you're a noob. I don't condone toxicity of the type that's really, really annoying, like, for example, just curses and shouting and all that. As long as it has any constructive criticism, I welcome it wholeheartedly. Completely even. Thanks for watching, and hope you're enjoying Paladins.